Hello guys and welcome to another video. Today, since I covered everything I wanted to cover about add-ons and UI in general, I would like to start a new kind of small series about your roles inside the raid environment. So we will start talking about tank, and then I will make videos in upcoming weeks about your role as a DPS and your role as a healer. Okay, so as we are starting talking about tanks, common misconception about tanks is you just hold aggro and don't die, and that's all you need to do. And even though that is correct, it's absolutely not a full picture of what you need to do and what is your obligation as a tank in a raid environment. So, beside obvious that is already said, yeah, hold aggro and don't die, there is many more things that you need to take care about. So first of all, most of the time you won't solo tank. You will have at least one tank more. In rare occasions you will have two tanks beside you as well, but usual setup is two tanks, and that's about it. So then the common thing is that those two guys that are tanking, they need to have really good communication, and really good communication in raid environment comes from good preparation before the actual fight or the raid, and with having proper working microphones that you can talk to and speed up your communication by a lot instead of typing. So as somebody who raided a long time with the tank that didn't actually had a microphone, and for whatever reason he was either shy or had some kind of a problem being vocal in a raid environment, the process of him getting to be a good tank instead of being bad and then mediocre tank was like a much bigger. It took so much more time. It was very frustrating at some points, and I think that having tanks that are able to be vocal and able to talk with proper microphones is a very important thing to have inside the raid environment. What does this bring is as well, beside them being able to call for external cooldowns, them being able to call that they are switching, so the healers are notified about that, especially if you are progressing. When you get to the point where you are just farming content and it's really easy for you as a group, and you have some steady kind of group where the people are coming from week to week and things are well known already how they are working, those kind of small little details are not that important. But especially for progress, communication is the key, and understanding who needs to do what and when those things are going to happen. But yeah, communication as a tank is extremely important, and if you are going to be serious about tanking, you should have a proper working microphone and being able and not shy to talk on any kind of comms that you are using as a guild. The second really important thing for the tank, and this is the thing that most people are failing, and this is the thing that is separating tanks from being bad, mediocre to being really good tanks, is that cooldown usage. Now, in order to do this properly as a tank, you need to understand your cooldowns, you need to understand other tanks' cooldowns, and you need to understand cooldowns that healers have and any kind of raid and external cooldowns. You need to understand how they are working, what they are doing, and what is their cooldown, like actual timer. Reason for this is on most of the fights, what is happening inside the fight is just bosses auto-attacking. And using cooldowns for those kind of things is not really as important. Like, what you do as a tank, okay, you got a boss, you keep aggro, you do your DPS rotation, and you keep some things like demoralizing shout and stuff like that. And then any other cooldown that you should be using is when actually something different happens. So there is a breath on Sindragosa, there is a Soul Reaper. Like, you are not using your cooldowns when Lich King is auto-attacking you. You are using your cooldowns when Lich King is using Soul Reaper on you. And this is why the understanding of timers and understanding of your and other people's cooldown is really important, because you need to have set of cooldowns for every single of those events, and you need to understand the timer of those events. Like, if the Soul Reaper, for example, I have this explained on my LOD 0% guide, but if you have Soul Reaper coming every 30 seconds, you need to have tank having cooldowns every 30 seconds up and ready to get hit with that Soul Reaper. Tank should not be using cooldown when the Soul Reaper is over. Then it's just like basic auto attack, and that's easily toppable by the heals. Now, of course, if some weird occasion happens and healers are, I don't know, dead or unable to heal, or, you know, or grabbed by a Valkyr somehow or whatever, then you might need to do something about it and use some kind of a cooldown and go out of the box. And this is what is bringing us to the first topic, and being able to talk and being vocal. So whenever you have something that needs to be supersetted up beforehand, like the cooldown usage, then if you have something getting fucked up, so somebody dies that was needed to use external cooldown and was assigned for that certain spot, and now he's unable to, you are able to say, okay, we need to do something about this, I need this from you. You are able to fix the things as you go, and you cannot do that by typing. And if you die as a tank, you pretty much wipe as a raid if you don't have instant combat res, or the more people will die and then you will wipe on enrage and so many things. So you staying alive is really, really important, and you will stay alive much easier, much more easily if you are able to communicate properly with the raid. So cooldown usage, understanding how it works is the key. Now, understanding every single fight, where those special events are coming, what is the timer of them. Can you take this one, then the other tank will take the second one because he will have cooldowns, then by the third one you will have your cooldowns back, and those are the things that needs to be set it up. This is why people are having very big problems. I'm talking now about 0% buff ICC, because that's what is my experience of ICC, mostly playing on Lordaeron. On progression on Sindragosa, and especially before nerfs. Now the content on Lordaeron is 0%. It's a little bit harder than, you know, just usual 0% ICC, but it's much easier than what used to be. And the common problem with people progressing on Sindragosa, and common problem with people progressing on Lich King especially, was the cooldown usage. People not understanding how it works, people not being communicative enough, because in the end it's a raid effort, it's a team effort, and those fights emphasize on those things. Like, you need to be communicative, you need to set things up for your cooldowns and for the whole fight. And when you create a perfect loop of your cooldown usage, you can do like that fight forever. Like, you're just cycling through the cooldowns and you create perfect loop every 2 minutes, and it just repeats. If you want to know more in detail things about it, check my LOD 25 main Lich King 0% whatever guide. You have this kind of thing somewhere in there explained completely. So hopefully that will help you understand it. Also, more than not, on some fights, especially on progress, you will have people, to use some external cooldowns. So your cooldowns with other tanks' cooldowns will not be enough to cover everything, then you will need externals. This is why it's important to understand other people cooldowns as well, like Disc Priest, Pain Sap, understanding the timer, maybe even tracking that, so you are able to call it out when you need it. Also, you need to have some kind of a backup in case those people that needed to give you that extra cooldown or something goes out of the way. You have something else that you can use, and usually the best option for the backup external cooldown is Retribution Paladin, because they have Hand of Sacrifice, they can use it with bubbles, so you have actually really good cooldown, and improved Lay on Hands can be extremely helpful as well. So understanding those, making that properly set it up before the fights, before the raid, and making those people aware that they will maybe be needed to use that, or that they will be needed to use that, is really important. And I would say the last and third thing that is really important for you to understand and do as a tank is positioning. Now, as you are tanking the boss, you are the only person as a tank that is tanking the boss at the moment that should be moving that boss, and your responsibility is to position it properly. Especially this is important for melee DPS, because if you ever played melee DPS, you actually know how annoying it is when tanks are not properly positioning the bosses, and you are forced to DPS the boss from the front, and you're just getting parried all the time. That's extremely annoying, and you should be aware of this as a tank. That's DPS loss, that's big DPS loss for a raid, and you should be aware of this as a tank and position the bosses properly. As well, for the movement of the boss, what is important is sometimes, like on Lich King on last phase, when you are changing from side to side, you don't want to go too fast. You want to move of the speed of the raid, because if you move too early while the boss is casting the spirits in the air, then the boss will start running to you much faster, and the raid will not be able to catch up. And this is really important for the melees, and even for the raid DPS. They will not be able to DPS because the boss will go out of the range, and if the boss is moving like steadily to the other side, they can go, and whenever they have instant spell ability to be used, they can move a little bit and they can catch up and always keep being in the range of the boss. So that's the one situation. And the other situation, for example, is like on Professor, when you need to stack boss with Ooze, because Ooze is primarily focus of the DPS. And then if you don't move the boss too fast, if you don't move boss fast on the Ooze, then you just lose all potential cleave on the boss while DPSing the Ooze, and equals to the lost DPS. So understanding how the fight works, understanding when the special events inside the fight are happening, understanding your cooldown rotation, that you set it up with the healers, with anybody that is potentially giving you external cooldown, and with other tank, is really important. Being vocal about what is happening inside the fight, when you are taking the boss, when you are moving, when you need cooldown, stuff like that, and understanding how the raid will move throughout the fight, and being prepared on that to efficiently do it. That's what makes you a good tank. Okay, hope you like this video and hope you find it helpful. If you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel. I'm posting Wrath of the Lich King content once per week, and yeah, hope you like this kind of small new series. You can expect me to talk in next 2 weeks about DPS role and about your role as a healer. Maybe I will touch on a raid leader role as well. But yeah, please ask any questions in the comments you might need, and you might have, I mean, and yeah, take care. Okay, bye bye.